You know, we have lots of wonderful departments and instructors here on Victor Valley College, but you'd be hard pressed to find any that are as exciting, that are as willing and as fun as those in our math department. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Steve Toner, our math department chair, and Ann Weiss, the facilitator for our math success center. That's a mouthful. Thank you. Welcome, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. And I want to say hi to my colleague, Ann. I don't get to see her very often because of this social separation. So good to see you, Ann. Good to see you, Christopher. Good to see all of you guys. Ann, you want to say anything before we start?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see you all too. Steve, thank you for the introduction.
Okay, well, I'm going to start off here and we're going to talk a little bit about our math classes. And I don't know if the students watching here are all brand new students or whether you've taken a math class or not, but we essentially have 4 entry-level classes, all at the 100 level: trig, college algebra, statistics, and the ideas of mathematics. And then we've got some advanced math classes. We've got a bunch of calculus classes, linear algebra, differential equations. And we also offer a math transfer degree, as you can see here. If you take everything in that bottom list there, you can get a transfer degree in mathematics, which will help guarantee getting into one of the Cal State schools of your choice, and you'd be able to continue on with a math degree, and you wouldn't have to, we've got agreements with those other schools, so you wouldn't have to repeat any of your courses. Most of our students that are starting off are starting at college algebra or at intro to statistics. Those are our 2 main starting points. And we offer them both with and without a co-requisite class. English and math both have developed some co-requisites in the past few years. And all of our co-requisites in math and English start with a course in the 80s. And we kind of decided as a team, we go with the 80s, and if the class ends in a 5 like Math 105, this would be Math 85. Math 120 ends in a 0. Math 80 ends in a 0. English 101, English 81 kind of all go together. And we highly recommend that everybody take these courses with the co-requisites, because they do offer a lot of extra support and time with your teachers to help you through the courses. And we'll give you a little bit more on that in a little bit. But if you do not feel that you are quite ready for any of these courses, or if it's been a long time since you've been out of the math classroom, we do have a self-paced math lab using some software called Alex, and we've got a non-credit free, did I say free, course called Math 049 that you can go in, work for a while, touch up on the skills that you need before jumping into these other courses or along with those other courses. And it's some of the best software that's out there, and we've got a teacher who's always working that class who can help out with those situations, any of those things that you need. Now, what is a co-requisite course? Basically, I've got 4 key bullets here. We try to teach you study skills for the course that you need. You get more time with your teacher. Because there's more time, we've got extra activities which are related to the topics to help reinforce what you're learning. And that extra time helps to fill in the gaps on any prerequisite material that you might have either forgotten or never gotten to. Because we realize that when you arrive here at VVC, you've all come in from different backgrounds with different teachers who have emphasized different things. Now, the question then becomes, which course do you take? And maybe back in high school or with your counselor, you've seen this chart, and we've worked very closely with all of the other departments on campus that say, If your major is in this place on the first column, we really recommend that the course you take is in this second column here, so that we can get you in the place that, number one, fits your major, number one, number two, saves you some time. This is also located at the VVC website. If you just search for the math department, you can find this chart. And I know that the counselors have this there also, as well as the high school counselors, and it's part of the orientation process. So those were some of the things we wanted to talk about in terms of what classes there are. As far as our remote learning goes, we've got online classes, which are purely online. There's no live or synchronous parts of the class. You get to work on the class at the time that fits your either work schedule or when you are most awake. Some of our students are taking their classes and doing all their hard lifting work at 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. The hybrid courses are kind of a blend of the live, the synchronous time working together, as well as some of the online instruction, kind of a blend between the two. And when we do return back to campus, we'll have courses that are main campus courses, which will be taught in the traditional manner. And our faculty, we are really a caring faculty. A lot of us really want to help you out at your point of need. It's not us versus you as students. This is about us working with you, working on the material so that you can have mastery of it. And I think at that point, I was going to now turn things over to my esteemed colleague, Professor Ann Weiss, if you'll talk for a little bit.
All right, thank you, Steve, for the information about the math department. What I'm going to do is talking about the math center. For those of you who are going to take math classes, whether you take Math 105 or Math 120, which is the entry point classes for most VVC students, we have HEP available for you guys. We have tutors running from Monday to Friday. We open from 9 to 5. You can just walk in on Zoom right now until we come back to the campus. We now have a weekend hours, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5, for those students who have to work during the weekday, who have kids to take care at home during the remote learning and COVID. We have a variety of choices as well. You can walk in and see the tutors. We have 10 tutors this coming semester, running from Math 105 to Statistics to Calculus 1, Calculus 2. Everything you need, we have the tutor available for you. Now, on top of having a tutor there for you to work with you on your homework assignment, your practice test to get you ready for the test, or the final exam, or any information that you need to get a head start in your classroom material, right? We also have a faculty workshop, and one of the workshop on a statistic is my colleague, Steve Toner. He is doing a Monday, Math 120 from 11:10 to 12:10 and 3 to 4. I will be doing the Math 105 and Math 226 from 10 to 11 and 11 to 12 p.m. Ms. Mecklenburg is the one that's gonna be doing the math workshop for Math 105, 226, and 231, right?
Can I introduce here something? We noticed the Saturday and Sunday tutoring. That is new this past year, and that is because you as students were requesting it, and we listened to your need, and you needed some help. You wanted some help over the weekend, and so we decided that we would present this for you.
Yes, so ever since we went on remote, we do know that the understanding of the weekend is so important for our students to be able to work with the class. So we offer the weekend hour, and believe it or not, our weekend hour is more packed than weekdays.
Yeah.
And this is the third semester we are doing the weekend, and I would love to continue having the weekend hours available for students because I can see that they use it a lot.
And you know what, I'd like to mention something. We're not going to be on this remote learning forever. We have a whole 2-room math support center on campus. And when you come back to campus, our math center is hopping. It's a fun place to go. And we've really got this set up for people to be able to work at customized tables. You want to tell them, Anne, a little bit about what it's like in the Math Success Center when we come back to campus?
Oh yeah, it's really a fun place to be. We have students in different settings. Some of them work one-on-one with a tutor, some of them work on groups, and they have a blast. A lot of students who come in the center and work on their homework assignment eventually work in a group long enough, that's when they find a best friend. So a lot of best friends and students who end up getting married happen at the Math Center too. So we had 2 students that worked together in a Math 226. They are going to get married and expecting a baby too. So we thought it was a good place for learning and get to know friends. And it get a very good result because the more you get to know and connected with your classmate and become friends, the more successful you're going to be in completing the class too, because you get support.
Right.
And we have one of those whiteboard tables that is like one of the top technology going on right now. You don't need to use the whiteboard. You can just write everything at the desk.
We're saving on scratch paper. You can write right on top of the table with a dry erase marker and erase it off. And it's kind of neat because you get a group of students all working together on problems, and it's right there. They can write as large as they want. They can use color, and it's kind of neat. It's fun and it's engaging.
Yes, it's definitely a very engaging place. We got a lot of successful students as a result of using the Math Center and work closely with our tutors as well.
Yeah, but we are in the time of remote learning right now, so let's start concentrating on that. So you want to talk about how people can get tutoring and help now?
Yes, for as far as now, we are using Zoom to work and get you guys helped with the tutors. In your Canvas class, you will find a shelf called Academic Support, ACAT 101. If you click on that shelf, you will see Confer Zoom, right? It's about the 5th tab down. When you click on Confer Zoom, on the very right-hand side of the slide, you will see the entire schedule of math classes, chemistry, biology, any supporting class that you need to work with the tutor. It's right in Confer Zoom, right? You just come in, pick the class, want to work with the tutor, the time that you want to work with. Just remember that we work from, we open every day, Monday to Friday, from 9 to 5, Saturday, Sunday, we go from 10 to 5 o'clock. So the schedule will be listed on the right-hand side.
And I'm going to highlight something to you by drawing this larger on your screen. What I've got posted here is actually today's listing of all the different types of workshops and tutoring support sessions that are available to you if you were to go there right now, this very minute. So it's not like there's only one session here and there. We have a whole lot for you.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of choices and we have a lot of tutors, and they are really expert on the topic too. They're very patient. They're willing to sit down and work with you one-on-one if it need to be. Once we get back on campus, you can make an appointment one-on-one, but pretty much right now it is one-on-one too. We have a few students sitting in a session. They are very good about taking turn as well, but we were able to serve the students at the pace of the time.
Right. Okay. And then we got some pictures here. You want to narrate these, Anne?
Sure. Yeah, you can see how fun it is, right? This is one of the classroom at the end of the semester. Our traditions in the math department, which have been very successful in helping the student, is called the Studyathon. It's the one day that we pick out a week before the semester, and it's on a Friday, and we do so much fun other than prepping you up for the final day. You come in, we start with breakfast. You can see there's a lot of food and breakfast on the front row, right? And then once everyone get in place, we start giving them a practice final exam. We work and work, and we work really hard too. It's a 3-hour session. And so we usually start at 9 and we end at noon. And then from noon to 1 o'clock, we will go have lunch. So we have all kinds of food trucks too. So I gotta say thank you to Robert and a lot of different departments that get involved in this big day to help the students succeed. We get food, we get the ASB involved. I mean, it's a fun activity. And by the way, we took the statistic and we found out that the student who attend the Studyathon to get ready for the final exam is 41% more success in completing past the class than the student who do not attend the Studyathon. So that's saying a lot right there.
It's huge.
So next semester, we're gonna have our Studyathon falling on June 4th. So watch for that day. We're gonna have a lot of flyer coming out. We have a lot of fun activity coming out. We also have a math club too. So for those of you who find that math is intriguing, interesting, and you want to learn more, that's what the math club's gonna be, right? They have activities going on in there too. Other than the math clubs, another event that we celebrate every year is called the Pi Day. It's always on March 14th. So we have activities, we have games, we have tons of fun stuff that day. But it's definitely not a learning day though. It's more of a fun day and talk about the history of pi and what can you do with pi, and very creative.
And we were able to have it last year before we went remote. And this coming year, we haven't quite figured out how this is going to work in March, but we may just be doing something through our math classes to celebrate instead, because we can't get together and have the big, huge party. But we'll find a way somehow.
Yes, and then if you look at the picture on the left, this is the Math Success Center room. You can see it filled with the student. And this is the high-tech table that you can see, right? It's a whiteboard table. I can tell you that in the entire United States, there's only about 10 or 11 campuses that have this type of technology in a Math Success Center. They write on there, they have Chromebook, they have laptop, we have a little small room, give you guys privacy to do group work if you need to, or you can work on a workshop with your instructor. But there's so many things that we have in the Math Center that ready to help you succeed in any math class you take, right? The picture on the right-hand side is the fund picture. You can see that when we do event, we have a break in the middle and we do pricing, we have lunch, we have food, we have snacks, and we even have pets.
If I'm not mistaken, the picture on the right wasn't from Pi Day, but it was from Talk Like a Pirate Day, if I remember correctly, which is a September date.
Yes, we also have another day that we celebrate to tie in the Pi Day because students love Pi Day. So they've been creating different things that relate to Pi. So we thought, was it International Pirate Day, Steve, that we tie into
Talk Like a Pirate Day, yeah.
Yeah, Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's usually in September. It might falling in around the 17 or 16, depend on the year too.
And there was one year we even had a Tau Day, which was 2 Pi, and that was on June 28th. So who knows?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We're very creative and students love it. They very engaged. They ready to learn math.
Yeah, which is great. So, okay, well, thank you here. I'm going to move us on here. I want to talk a little bit about the need for studying. It can't be all just fun and games and Pi Days and party and pizza and all that. The first comment we wanted to make was college math classes are not like high school math classes. I taught high school for 13 years and I know that, you know, you've got a 55-minute lesson. The teacher goes up, does a few things on the board for 15 minutes and says, okay, any questions? And some teachers give you a bunch of time to work in class and then class is over and you move on. You've really only learned a couple concepts a day. In college, imagine taking 6 or 7 of your high school lessons and putting it into one 2-hour sessions here at college. That's kind of the difference. And we actually have a rule just generally for all college classes. For every 1 hour you spend in the class time, we expect you're doing about 2 hours of homework outside of the classroom. Now that's a general rule. And in math, sometimes they say, in English, they say 2.5 hours for every 1 hour in the classroom. So if you are in a 4-unit class, which meets for 4 hours a week, technically that means about 8 extra hours of homework beyond the 4 hours in class is really what we expect you to be doing, because the learning doesn't always occur in the classroom. The learning really occurs when you go back home and you start struggling with the homework and what's the difference between this and that and when do we do this and how do I do that? That's when the learning really does occur. So studying, yeah, go ahead, Ann.
I'm going to go ahead and pitch in what you said. The learning, when you do it at home, sometimes it can be very challenging to trying to figure it out on your own. And that's where the Math Success Center coming in. We found out that during the remote learning, most of the students love to come into the center and they would have the computer on the other side of Zoom. They work on the homework assignment. And if they have questions, they just raise their hand or they would unmute themselves and they talk and they ask. And then we were able to approach their question right there too. So feel free to come in and join any of our sessions. You don't have to say anything. You can just sit there and unmute yourself and watch what we're doing too. Or you can just type in the question and we can just do it on the other side where you can just see the share screen and do everything. Right. So a lot of learning is really occurs outside of the classroom using the resources center.
Right. Another thing about college is you are your own schedule keeper. So many people back in high school, you had a counselor, you had a teacher kind of reminding you, hey, you got this deadline, you got this deadline. But in college, you're on your own. No one's going to be following you and say, hey, I noticed you left class 5 minutes early. Hey, I noticed this is going on in your life. You seem down today, whatever. We try to keep in touch with all that, but you are in charge of your own time and you really have to learn how to manage your time well. And that's why we have office hours on campus. This is something that a lot of students don't take advantage of, but we teachers are putting time in, several hours a week where we are there just for you, whether we're in our offices when we return to campus or whether it's an online office hours. It's a great chance to get to know your teachers and make that initial contact, because we're not there to just kind of come in, do the show. We're there to help you. Now, the biggest problems we find in our department, and I'm not going to lie, is procrastination, waiting till the very last minute. And part of why we teach study skills in our co-requisite classes is to help you learn and take advantage of the skills necessary to avoid this procrastination. Sometimes, hey, it's tempting to skip classes because, hey, this is college, no one's checking up on me. We don't want to do that. That's a big issue. And say, oh, if I skip one homework assignment, it's not the big deal. You don't realize how it really just tends to snowball on you if you're skipping classes. Now, I personally have taken some students, these are from my students personally, that students have kind of related when they have been reflecting on their study. And maybe this will resonate with you. First person said, I have to admit that I have too many distractions while I study. Maybe I should be putting up a do not disturb sign at home, okay? Watching Facebook, doing social media, keeping the TV on, trying to do homework all at the same time just doesn't always work for everybody. Someone else said, the way I've been studying is too much on the surface level. I tend to try to memorize the information for when it's needed, but when I go back and try to recall the information later, I've already lost it. Basically, short term, put it on our brain for the test, but boom, it's gone soon thereafterwards. Third person said, I'm going to start taking more time to comprehend the concepts better. So that's the choice they're making. More time is going to help out. Now, the research actually says about 30 minutes of new work, take a 5-minute break. 30 minutes of new work, take 5-minute break, and our brains need that little break as a way to try and keep it fresh. If you try to do 6 hours in a marathon session without a break, it's going to be counterproductive probably right around the first 45-minute mark, and the last 5 hours are going to be wasted time, to be honest. Second from last person, I'm going to start setting more time aside, not just skimming through the material. And the last person, I am too overconfident when it comes to preparing for tests. And so I just thought, we don't just teach the material, we're also trying to teach you to learn what your study techniques are and how you might improve yourselves so that you can be better students, not just in our math classes, but all the way around in all of your classes. And this is just a tiny excerpt that I found from, and it just echoed many times over from my students. Anne, have you had similar reactions from your students?
Oh, yeah. Most of the reaction that I get from them is, part of my requirement is they meet me at the Math Center, and I actually donate most of my office hour at the Math Center. So they do come in and see me, and they find it's extremely helpful. So see your instructor at the office hour is the great way to start out getting the content deeper, where you just don't just scream through, but you get the concept down. So they have the similar experience like you do talk about, Steve.
Yeah. And you know what? I think probably if I had to make one last comment on studying and good skills is while we are on this Zoom session right now, showing your face on the screen makes such a difference for the classroom environment and for grades. I've looked at 4 classes last semester and my 2 classes that I'm currently teaching here during winter. And I can probably say that I guess in morning, I'm teaching an 8 a.m. class, people have bed hair or whatever. They haven't had time to do whatever they do to make themselves up. And so a lot of people keep their faces off the camera and don't get as involved because they've just woken up. And then you've got people later in the day who are getting actively involved and they're showing their faces on the screen and interacting with each other. And I'm going to say in my classes, the drop rate is higher in the early morning when they're not showing their face. I'm also probably noticing about a 10% increase in grades. Just kind of a general, that's not mathematically proven, but I've kind of noticed it for a couple semesters running now when people are showing their face on the screen. Plus, it's a friendlier environment all the way through. So that would be another tip that I would give everybody here. So again, I'm Steve Toner. And
I'm Ann Weiss.
Ann Weiss, spelled A-N-H. And I don't know if anyone is monitoring the questions, but I'm going to release myself from the shared screen here if I can.
Wonderful.
And anyone has any questions?
Thank you both so much. You guys went over a lot. Definitely the Math Success Center. If you haven't been in there, once we open back up, you're going to be blown away by the kind of camaraderie that happens in there. I myself passed my statistics class. It took me 2 rounds, but thanks very much to the Math Success Center in order to make it happen. So proof is in the pudding. So we thank you guys for that. Before we let you go, we'd love to put you on the spot a little bit more. In addition to learning about all the resources and all the departments that we have here on campus, we've been learning a little bit more about our faculty and staff. So if you both wouldn't mind, we'd love to know, what did you want to do when you were growing up? What did you want to be?
Steve, you want to take that first?
Well, I'm going to go kind of first. It's going to sound corny if I said I wanted to be a math teacher, that or computer science. But be honest with you, when I was like 3 years old, I wanted to watch Felix the Cat on TV, and my mom got too tired of me asking when it's on. So she sat me in front of the clock that was on our oven, and at 3 years old taught me to tell time so that I could tell when Felix was on. And then she watched a bunch of Price is Right game shows with me, and that inspired a love of math, and it just always stuck.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, I'm going to be truly honest with you. When I started college, I had no clue what I want to do with my life. I'm just one of those typical students, just mom and dad put me in college and I just follow the rules. And I took a lot of history because I did have a lot of interest in history. But along the line, I kept taking math class because I have an interest in that too. But by the time I finished my 300 level history, I realized that no, this is not what I want. And I said, the math is what I really want. So I went back and I keep taking more math classes. And my first job was the upward bound tutor. And that's what put me in the path.
Oh,
One
okay.
thing that I do advise my student is that follow what you love. It will lead you the way. It's the passion that take you there.
Oh,
I have
that's
no intention to become a teacher, but it's just the path and the way I like math and the way I like to work with my students. And honestly, my students make my day. By the end of the day, I find so much joy out of working with them.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you both so much for sharing. It's great to get to know you a little bit better, and we really appreciate everything that you're doing for our math students. We do have a question that just popped up. It says, do you guys still have basic math classes available?
We do not have any classes below the 100 level, but we do have that Math 049, which is the Alex-based lab, which is for support for people to brush up on mathematics. And what's nice about that is you start with a short assessment. The computer says, this is where you're at, and it teaches you what you need at a very methodical pace so that you're not overwhelmed, but it teaches you what you need to move on to the next skill.
All right, I'm going to pick up from where Steve is leaving off with, is that this coming spring, the Math Success Center is going to form what we call is the Math Mastery Group. It's like a study group because we no longer have a basic skill math class. We know the need that the student need in that area to be able to do well in the 100 intro level. We had a small groups that will be formed based on the instructors, the time of the class. So that's why when we form the group, it's the same student come from the same class. And we're trying to promote more consistency, connecting the student together, building the community, and pick up from their individual need. In other words, the student is like 2 steps below the class, then we will be at that step to work with them closely as many times a week as it needs to be to bring them back to where they need to be in that class. So that should be replacing the basics classes on top of Math 049, right?
That's wonderful. And it definitely sets our students up for more success and earlier on success in math in particular.
Yes, I am hoping that this new group work is filling in the gap that our students need. So that's why they don't ever feel the feeling of struggle. I'm afraid of math. What do I need to do to get that feeling away? All these will ease up all that feeling and get them to feel comfortable enough to do the math and get through the next class or through the program that they intend to be.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
Tim just added in our email addresses over into the chat if anyone needs to reach either of us.
Yes, absolutely. Crystal, thank you so much for your questions and the Q&A button. Please definitely take down Mr. Toner and Ms. Weiss's email address that are in the chat and reach out to them. These are the best resources that we have, and depending on where you're at in your journey, they'll make sure that you're taking advantage of the appropriate resources to make sure you pass.
And we will make sure that once you get in the center, we give you everything you need to get through your journey. And I noticed that Miss Valerie Becker is in the panel too. She is one of our AI in the Math Center. So anything that you need as far as making an appointment or how to get to the Math Success Center, feel free to call her at the extension 2788.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you guys again for sharing, and I'm sure we'll see you in the Math Center real soon.
You betcha.
All right. Well, rolling right along here, like I said, very possibly one of the most enthusiastic departments on campus, math. You never expect it, but you should see Mr. Schoner once he gets an air guitar in his hands. He's ready to go.
Oh yeah, we can rock.
Yeah.
We have a rock bands in our department too. Mr. Thomas
Hill-
Shellhouse.
Hill House,
He
yeah.
had a musical band and he is the math club's director too. So we have a lot of fun, not just learning math, but we know how fun can be when you learn math.
Yeah, you do. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much.